My name is Alexis Farmer. I'm 17 and I am a senior at Renaissance High School.
I'm Kevin Ricky Jr. I'm 17. I'm a senior at Hamtramck High School.
So I wanted to be a regional youth intern because the mission of the program itself seemed to be really important as far as improving your own community and like getting that first-hand like access, I guess, to really making change in your community. And that's really what I wanted to do, not just talk about it, not just say that problems existed and not do anything about it, but actually make a change.
Well, I found the application for it in my friend's folder and I pulled it out and I was reading it. I'm like, it sounds really cool because that was like during a time where I was actually like getting involved in stuff, and this seemed like something that was not only, I don't know, good, but it seemed like it was important to do because no one seems to be doing it. I don't know. I was just really attracted to it because it seemed like something that I could actually make a difference in, and I was really interested in that at the time. And I've learned definitely to be like more open to others' ideas. I was kind of just my way or no one else's way before, but now I'm like, okay, well, this makes sense too. And of course, I've learned a lot about social justice and everything that entails, but I don't know, something directly personal to me is being the fact that I'm more able to accept other people's ideas now. So.
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to Kevin, but a little bit different. I think like my leadership skills have been like strengthened. They've kind of been like put to the test in many ways. Definitely strengthened within like organizing and talking to people, communicating effectively. Really like when talking to other people and like these issues that I didn't really have necessarily the best knowledge of. I knew they existed, but I didn't really know where they came from or who was exactly the community that was affected by it or anything like that. So I really learned more about the issues and about people's lives. Presently, I see myself informing more of my peers about like what I've learned, just pretty much sharing the knowledge. Partially, this program has given me like even more of a solid foundation for me to go into my career interests. I'm like interested in politics / international relations and journalism, but like I guess like my whole interest in education kind of started like in school and like in writing research papers about it, and it's just kind of continued into here. And so now that I really have kind of like this nudge for education and like changing the system, it's given me like even more of a push to really like explore this in college and beyond and everything like that.
When I changed schools to Hamtramck High School, it was like a completely different environment from like the schooling I had like the entire time before. And there was like this completely different dynamic of how everything worked. And I became like a lot more curious about like a lot of things, and especially since there are a lot of language learners at my school, like how, I don't know, because I had this conversation with my principal about how our graduation rate is like brought down because of how the government takes into consideration everything without really taking into consideration everything. And so I just wanted to learn more about education then, and it's always been important to me. And once I learned more about it, I became more interested in like how it worked and like what wasn't working, what like was holding a lot of people back, specifically like inner city kids and minorities and stuff like that. And so when this became an option to like follow the educational justice track, I don't know, I was kind of just really drawn to it because it's dear to me, because I feel like it's one of the most important, if not the most important aspects of.
Where my interest kind of came from, last year I wrote a research paper about education. It was like examining whether or not extending the school day or the school year would be more effective as far as like test scores and grades and all that good stuff. And when I was doing my research paper, I learned about other factors that contribute to students' education, which I found was really interesting. And then like at the same time, I was hearing like the Michigan Promise Scholarship had been eliminated. They were cutting from the education budget. So it was just like a lot of other things. DPS was going through a lot of transitions with like adding 50 kids to the classroom, eliminating AP classes. Like it was just kind of a lot at the same time, which really got me like riled up. Like, oh, okay, well this is seriously an issue. So that's really like what facilitated everything.
Like I've become more aware of this disparities between the cities and the suburbs, like as far as like our region goes. And I used to have like a almost completely negative view of Detroit, but now it's like, I don't know, I've definitely grown more fond of it, and I see a lot of good things happening that I didn't see before.
Being in this internship has made me appreciate Detroit more. I never really had any negative thoughts about it. I just kind of lived here, and I said, cool, this is fine. And then I guess like seeing everything that was involved and the people in it, then it just made me really appreciate it more for the city that it is and its uniqueness. The region in itself, like Kevin said, I've kind of seen like the disparities. So disparities that are within the region, kind of what's the differences between the two, how we're really segregated, like not just like racially, but just kind of with a lot of things, and how Detroit is like discriminated against within a lot of other qualities as well. So that's really been my exposure to it. Well, from my community, I think I've gotten like a lot of support to kind of like fight for whatever I believe in, and that there's definitely always people behind me for it. At the same time, reciprocating that same energy. So for any other issue, whether it's like environmental justice or dealing with the LGBTQ community or like anything like that, it's just, that support that's there to fight for a cause and equality and equity that's within Southeast Michigan. So.
My favorite part about like this whole internship, parts, one has definitely been camp. I mean, it's the best 5 days of my life. Like, oh my god, it's like a great start. Like, you need a great start to something before you can really get into it. Like, sometimes you have a whack start and you don't want to do it. That was just like a really great start. And like, you learn so much and like so fast. You got so interested and so excited. And like, yeah. So I just love that.
Yeah, well, like Kevin, I think camp is one of my favorite parts too, because it really helped me like look inside myself, and then that was like my kind of transformation / revelation. Well, like where I wanted to see myself at least this senior year, and then like where I wanted to go beyond that. So that was my favorite part. I do like us working our campaigns because, like I said, this is like a really great issue, and it's like really hands-on. And I like working with the Detroit Future Youth Network. I always feel like that's fun and engaging all the time, and meeting different youth doing different things, and that's always inspiring to me whenever you see like youth of your peers like advocating for a cause and then working towards it. So that's my favorite part. I think one of my challenges is personally because like I am kind of a solo person, like I work alone a lot, and a lot of this has to do like with group work and work with other people, and that is important like when you go into the work world and like have to work with people. And even here, I guess this is like a practice I would get because I'm really like, I just work on my own. Sometimes group members aren't reliable, and A, B, and C. Not just like in this particular situation, but in school or any other experience I've had working with the group. So that's kind of been like a personal challenge for me. It's also been a challenge with the questions that are always asked of us from like the leaders like Teresa and Mariana about like specifically our campaigns, like challenging us to think a little bit harder and push for exactly what we want to see. And so that's been a challenge too, instead of just kind of covering the surface. It's like go in depth and get nitty gritty with like all the details and stuff like that.
In school, when teachers ask questions, it's like, hey, look at this line in the book, raise your hand and you can answer the question. But here, like when questions are asked, you have to like really think about it, and that becomes difficult sometimes when you have to do it over and over and over and over again. It's kind of rewarding when you finally get the question not right, because there's no strictly right or wrong, but like somewhere in the area that is like specific enough and like strong enough to do something with the answers to that question, This program is important because it teaches a lot of youth in our region about a lot of stuff that they wouldn't know otherwise, and teaches them about a lot of stuff that will incite some type of feeling. Like, we do it so that people become aware, so that people like want to like make a difference in the community. And I think without programs like this, then no one's like really telling them that, like in an effective way. Like, you can tell someone, but they're not going to listen. Like, you can show them, and especially since it's youth interns, it's easier to relate to other youth in our region, you know, and then we have adults that are impressed by like how much you know, to where they want to know more. And so I don't know, I think the whole dynamic of the whole thing is really effective, and it's important because if we don't do it, I'm not sure that there are many people that will.
I agree with Kevin, definitely. I believe this program is important too because it just gives a lot of exposure, pretty much like what he talked about. A lot of us here came in not knowing a lot about different social justice issues and about social media and about really what we could actually do as youth who just had a whole lot of problems and a whole lot of issues that we cared about, but just not knowing what to do with them. So I think it just exposed us to a lot. It increased our skills, like personally with people, leadership, communication, organization, like a lot of different skills that sometimes we can't get at school, at home, or anywhere else here. It gives us exposure like different people like the Detroit Future Youth Network, and when we go to summits in schools and teaching people about things like this, which not a lot of youth do. And I believe too that like a lot of revolutions or changes always begin with young people. Like as we've seen through history, it's always usually young people starting these things. So if we put more support into our young people like the Roundtable does, then we can produce better adults and better people who want to make a world better.